Ready?
Yep.
Call the RPO meeting to order, and we'll begin with our invocation and pledge of allegiance. Everyone to stand. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to come together and to discuss the needs of our region and to work together across the boundaries that we otherwise work within. And we just ask that you would guide us in our decisions and our discussions today and keep everyone here safe as they travel home. And we ask these things in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mike, you drink coffee all day, so that's that's a true statement any time of day.
About 2 pots a day.
So now we'll do our roll call
Frank Williams,
here.
Mike Forte,
Yeah. Martin.
Dave DeLong,
Here.
Jeff Weinkoff. Here.
Laverne Coleman, Scott Floyd, Terry Mann,
Here.
Gary Keaton,
Here.
Jerry Groves, reached out this morning, said he wouldn't be able to make it. Hugh Kennedy, Morton Blanchard, William Revenbark,
Here.
and Grady Hunt.
The only voting member online is Mr. Keaton, correct?
That is correct. And we'll also, for today, Mayor Weinkoff will be serving as voting.
And we have a couple of guests in the room. We'll let them identify themselves. We'll start with Ms. Kelly.
Rebecca Kelly, Southport Alderman.
Adrian Cox, NCDOT Division 3.
Well, House Division 3.
Thank you, guys. And the Honorable Alan Serkin. Dishonorable. Potentially honorable. Now we'll read our ethics, awareness, and conflict of interest statement, which we're required to read aloud at the beginning of each meeting. In accordance with the State Government Ethics Act, it is the duty of every committee member to avoid conflicts of interest. Does any committee member have any known conflict of interest with respect to any matters coming before the committee today? If so, please identify the conflict and refrain from any participation in the matter involved. Does anyone know of any conflicts? Not seeing none, we will move on to adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes to the? Or if not, do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Mayor Mann. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. DeLong. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do our roll call.
Frank Williams,
Aye.
Mike Forte,
Aye.
Dave DeLong,
Aye.
Jeff Weinkoff,
Aye.
Terry Mann, Gary Keaton,
Aye.
William Revenbark.
Minutes are approved. Our agenda is approved. Now we'll move on to minutes. Any adjustments to the minutes from the prior meeting? Motion by Mr. Forte. Is there a second? Second, I heard Mr. Weinkoff, I think was the loudest on that one, so we'll give that to him. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do our roll call.
Frank Williams,
Aye.
Mike Forte,
Aye.
Dave DeLong,
Aye.
Jeff Weinkoff, Terry Mann, Gary Keaton,
Aye.
William Revenbark.
Aye.
Thank you. So the minutes are approved, and we'll now move on to public comments. And did we have any submitted online or by email?
No, sir.
Does anyone online wish to comment on anything? Seeing none, anybody in the room? Any public comments? Well, seeing none, we'll move on to vacancies and appointments. So what do we have there? That's on the agenda.
Yes, so this is just, there's no action to be taken right now. We'll do that at the beginning of the calendar year. But as this is potentially our final meeting of the calendar year, wanted to show you which appointments, specifically municipal appointments, will be expiring at the end of 2024. And that's essentially one municipal spot per county, as well as their alternates. There are also some county appointments from our commissioners that will be, those appointments are handled by the county. The municipal appointments per the RPO's bylaws, the TAC bylaws, will be decided upon by all the membership within each county, much like we did this past January. And so I wanted to just put this on your radar so that you know what's coming up, which spots will be vacant. There are no term limits, so reappointments are entirely possible. I will reach out to everyone probably in the December timeframe to set up a January meeting to handle reappointments in each of the counties. But just wanted this to go ahead and be on your radar moving forward.
Thank you. And did you hear anything from the Columbus County folks that aren't here about this meeting? Did they reply at all?
They did not. I did send packets in the mail instead of just electronically this time, but I did not hear information.
Any questions on anything related to this for Sam? And obviously, I guess, closer to the end of the year, you'll be in touch with the various counties about how to organize their municipal appointments.
That's correct.
Now move on to public hearing, and we have a presentation. We'll first have, I guess, if you want to talk about what we're going to discuss, which is our division needs local input points.
Yes. As many of you are probably aware by now, we've had a lot of meetings over the past several months. RPO participates with NCDOT and our other planning partners to prioritize transportation projects to compete for state and federal funding. Once we submit projects, as we did last year in fall of 2023, DOT scores them with a big system of quantitative data and sends those scores back out to everyone. We got those at the end of the spring of this year. And then from that point, each planning organization works within an approved methodology to kind of rank those projects that were scored and decide how to assign points, kind of representing local input to further supplement their overall score in the funding competition. We did this a few months ago for projects competing at the regional impact tier. This diagram shows you the three funding categories of the prioritization process. And then now we are assigning local input points for projects eligible to compete in the division needs tier. The big change being that there are certain projects that were not eligible previously and are now eligible in the division needs category. That includes all bicycle and pedestrian projects, as well as some highway projects or aviation projects. And also the balance of quantitative data to local input has changed. Instead of 70% and 30%, it is now 50-50. The idea being, as projects are more locally focused, the weight of local input is greater. This is just another visual that most, if not all of you, have seen before. That bottom line is where we're working at now, showing that the RPO's input has grown in terms of its proportion to the final score of these projects. Methodology is also still largely the same as it was when we ranked projects in the regional category. We look at 4 criteria. They're the project score that we get from DOT, a division priority, which we held 3 county meetings about 2 weeks ago, I think, to determine where projects fall on a high, medium, low, or none scaling. Again, a reminder, if projects were on this list, they're still obviously in the big picture a higher priority than everything else. But we just have to kind of whittle it down even further. Our division partners were kind enough to do the same in terms of ranking. And then there's also a 10% for project development. So the previous work that's already been done, other studies, design work, right-of-way development. The balance or the weight of those criteria change now in division needs as opposed to regional impact. With the division and county priorities weight increasing and the weight of the quantitative score decreasing. Previously, instead of 30, 30, 30, 10, it was 50, 20, 20, 10. And then we assigned projects in 3 waves, and I'm going to walk through the TCC's recommendation on the projects that fit each of those 3 waves. So, and this information is also in your packet and has been posted in draft form to the RPO's website. So the first of those waves is the top 2 highway projects in the county. In Brunswick County, we have the next segment of widening 211. This goes from Midway, where construction is currently stopped, and furthers it on to Sunset Harbor Road. And then the second recommendation is the intersection to interchange upgrade at US 7476 and Mako Road near Sandy Creek and Northwest. There are three deviations I'm going to highlight that come from the TCC's recommendation that deviate slightly from how the methodology would just have lined up projects. Previously, it would have been widening to 11 and then upgrading US 7476 to interstate standards. That is a project that between the RPO and the Wilmington MPO, we assigned full points at the regional needs or the regional impact category. And the TCC was in favor of assigning points elsewhere, which then bumped this intersection improvement up for division points.
And obviously part of that, I know that the higher the tier, the bigger the projects too. Smaller projects tend to fare better at this level. So,
Correct.
you know, a big project, even if it's a high priority, it's pointless to try to prioritize it here if it's too big because it'll never get funded.
Correct. In Columbus County, we have two intersection improvements at US 74 and Blacksmith Road to convert that to a grade separation, and then to construct a roundabout at NC 410 and Strawberry Boulevard. And then in Pender County, modernization of US 117 and converting the grade separation of I-40 and New Road. The name of the road is New Road. To an interchange there. Yeah.
It's new. Been there many.
That is funny.
It was new at one point.
New road. That's about as confusing as out where my dad lives, Northwest Road, Northeast.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many strange questions I have about that
In
address.
Southport, we have West Street and East West Street.
Oh.
We like to keep things simple here in the transportation world.
It's funny. Any questions about these since they're all on the same side of the same sheet of paper in the packet before we move on? Any questions? I mean, I think looking at it, they make sense. I mean, these, obviously 211's been our top priority in Brunswick County for a while, but that Mako Road is becoming more and more dangerous. And I think anybody who drives through that on a regular basis knows that there's a need for that project. And the longer we wait, the harder it's going to be because of all the Dollar Generals that want to be built there.
Sam, remind us how the cost estimates for these are developed, because that Blacksmith Road grade separation and that I-40 interchange are obviously going to cost a lot more than where they were estimated, I would think, right?
Yes, those costs will most likely definitely go up throughout the project development's kind of lifetime. I don't know if y'all would be better equipped to explain the cost estimation process.
Well, we have a team in Raleigh that will help with that. So it's part of the development, assuming right of way, utility costs and construction costs, and that can change even from the beginning of a project within 3 years to actual construction. And whenever it is programmed with funding, we work to just make it work. When you have a cost, when you put it in the step and when you actually have actual costs, we recognize that it's going to change and has been changing since COVID. Those costs
And
have.
before a project gets funded, like when it's going through this process, and cost estimates have to be updated every 2 years.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Is there contingency built in?
Yeah, it's like depending on what year it gets programmed in this state, it's forecasted that you don't. The project.
It's just never enough.
Any questions on these before we move on to the next set of projects on the other side?
Nothing in the chat online.
So everybody's good with these as the top points before we move on to the next tier, I guess, so to speak. Okay, we'll flip over the page then.
Okay. The second of the three waves is to assign points to the top ranking non-highway projects. And whereas previously the highway projects were 2 per county, This is the top three non-highway projects anywhere in RPO. And in this instance, all three of them are airport improvement projects. The three airports within the RPO boundary are examples of projects that are only eligible in the division needs category. So this is their opportunity to receive points. I will also note that the two Columbus County municipal airport projects on this list, whichever, I do believe, I think Bill's online, so he can fuss at me if I misspeak. One of those projects, the division plans to also assign points to, and there's actually a possibility that one of those is funded this time around, which a project might get funded this time around. That's awesome. So just an asterisk there for those two Columbus County projects. They were very high scoring.
And historically, aviation projects have scored fairly well, and
Yes.
we've had fairly decent success over the past many years getting aviation projects funded.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the cap that we're allowed to spend on aviation projects, like depending on what level airport they are. It's like the cost to DOT is usually pretty low versus what the airport has to contribute. Like it's usually like $500,000 or something.
Mhm.
So that really helps the cost benefit score for aviation projects to get that funding.
Sam, on this Cape Fear jet flight, what's SUT?
That's the acronym for their airport. Each airport has the three-letter
Okay.
acronym. I'm not exactly sure why it's SUT.
Southport something.
Your guess is as good as mine. But
Okay.
Any questions on those? Not, we'll move on to the top remaining eligible projects, which are kind of a mix across modes, if I read it correctly.
that is correct. So then this last wave is meant to catch the remaining highest ranking projects in our boundary. And this is where we again had a few deviations from how the methodology kind of automatically ranked projects once we put in all of our criteria. So we have this project at the Mans Harbor Shipyard. We have only 20 points preliminarily assigned. Projects at the Mans Harbor Shipyard are split between the 5 planning organizations that share the ferry system. And so our share of it would be just 20 points. And then again, with the acronyms, ACZ is Henderson Field in Wallace, because why not? That one to be getting 100 points. So this, again, with this proposed slate of points, that would be points going to a project at all 3 of the airports in the RPO for good geographic balance. And then the final 3 projects, this is where we had some change recommended by the TCC. The initial ranking of projects per the methodology did not include any of our bicycle or pedestrian projects. Once we took out the US 7476 upgrade to interstate standards, the other 2 that were taken off the list to make way for these 3 bike and ped projects. One was the remaining segment of widening NC 211 from Sunset Harbor to US 17. That one was almost $250 million and also still received points at the regional tier. TCC felt fine that it would never be funded with the division needs funding. That would be a regional project. And then also they removed one more aviation project, the lowest scoring of the ones that automatically made it. It's 5 out of 14 of the projects getting points being aviation seemed a little imbalanced.
Yeah.
And so they removed the lower of the scoring ones. And so then this made room for the Oak Island project was the highest scoring bike ped project in Brunswick County, all of Brunswick County. And then the bike lanes just north of Burgaw, that was the highest scoring Pender County bike ped project. And then the remaining points, sorry, it's covered up here on the screen, only 80 points going to this multi-use path in Surf City. Largely that was the tiebreaker because we didn't have points on a project in that corner of the RPO. And so that's where the remaining 80 And that's 80, not 100, because there's 20 on the ferry project at the top. That's why it's not a full 100.
Any questions on any of these?
The Oak Island 46 to 64. Multi-use path, is that just enlarging the sidewalk that's already there? Is that the plan that's for that?
I think right now the idea, because that sidewalk is on the south side of the road. The idea right now is that the multi-use path would be on the north side of the road. There are some plans that state differently. Oak Island is updating its comp plan right now, and as part of that, they are doing a corridor study on Oak Island Drive to include kind of finally nailing down, this is where we're putting things. But right now it's slated to be on the north side of the road.
And multi-use includes golf carts?
Probably not.
Because that would be ideal to get the golf carts off of Oak Island Drive.
Yes, yeah, golf carts.
How will the width of that compare to the one near on 133 in Belleville? Do you know?
It should be about the same. Generally speaking, the multi-use path is 8 to 10 feet wide. And I think the one in Belleville, 10,
I think it's 10.
it's 10. So,
I mean, I could see golf carts actually creating danger on that if you got people walking babies and strollers, but at the same time, that's still an interesting point to get them off the road. So I don't.
Well, and a multi-use path is, it's only 8 or 10 feet wide, but it's 2 directions, right? So you can bike and or walk in both directions.
Yeah.
You couldn't have passing golf carts, and if there was
Okay.
somebody in a wheelchair, it would be a nightmare. You'd have to have a 25-foot road to have passing golf carts.
There's already a sidewalk on the other side, so there's the ability to create something that is more golf cart specific, and it's not my town specifically, but I deal with it quite frequently.
yeah.
Something to put into the hopper for discussion for down the road.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this set? If not, anything else you want to add, Sam, before I open the public hearing?
I think the last thing I had was just, this is the schedule. Once we assign our division points, essentially for everyone here, that wraps up what we need to do in the P7 cycle. DOT plans to release the draft STIP in January. The work group for P8 started meeting this week, actually. And so hopefully we'll have news to bring for the upcoming cycle, but just to show you. And early next year, early 2025, I'll try to pull together kind of a P7 and review type summary report to share with everyone. But just wanted you to know that essentially this is our final step of P7. And I think that's all I had.
With that, we'll open the public hearing, which is a chance for people who are not on the board to share their comments. Board members can speak during the actual discussion on the motion and the next agenda item. So any public comments? Any comments from anyone online?
No, and I did not receive any specific
Okay.
before the meeting.
Going once,
I'm
going
gonna
twice.
ask a question to our DOT folks, if you don't mind. Is there any, do we know if any of the damage repair out west is to projects that are in the STIP otherwise, or anything that might change prioritization?
We don't know what that's going to look like yet. There are still towns and counties we can't even access yet. We're currently drafting a GIS map layer showing what is accessible by foot, what is accessible by ATV, and what is accessible by car and by air. And until we really are able to see what the full image is and get a scope of what it's just like the more that we see, the worse.
Yeah. Okay. And Sam, so based on your analysis, there's an outside chance that maybe we get an airport project in Whiteville, but otherwise it barring some, major change in funding, it's unlikely that there'll be another project funded in the RPO area this time around.
That's correct.
Any other public comments? Going once, going twice. We'll close the public hearing and move on to new business where we Need a motion to either approve or amend this as presented. So what's the pleasure of the board? This is to approve the points that Sam just reviewed.
I'll move to approval.
Motion is made. Is there a second? Second, any discussion? Going once, going twice. Seeing none, we'll do our roll call.
Frank Williams,
Aye.
Mike Forte,
Aye.
Dave DeLong,
Aye.
Jeff Weinkoff,
Aye.
Terry Mann,
Aye.
Gary Keaton,
Aye.
William Ravenbark.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is Cape Fear RPO legislative agenda, and this is something that came up that I brought up at the end of the last meeting, which was, should we have a legislative agenda for what our legislative priorities are? And I know the Wilmington MPO has theirs. After that meeting, Sam went out and researched and reached out to other RPOs, and I think only one sent us a legislative agenda, if that's maybe two. And their legislative agenda was actually more of a list of here's the projects we want than it really was legislative advocacy, from what I recall. But we had a work group that met about a week or week and a half ago to discuss these, and it was myself, Commissioner Forte, Mayor Alt from Southport, Mayor Mann, and I know we invited some folks from Pender County, but I don't think any were able to attend. We had about twice this many bullets on our list to start, and we whittled it down to the ones we thought were worth sending up. But again, these are not projects we want. These are things we want the legislature to consider. So I will go over what's in this. I've also been involved on the Association of County Commissioners Legislative Goals Committee a couple of times, and some of the language in here are things I borrowed from there. The first one is they either typically have seek legislation or support legislation, or the way they word things. Seek means it's something we want to go out and try to get passed. Support means we're with it if it comes up. So that's kind of the difference in those two. Well, first one is to seek legislative changes to include evacuation routes as a safety scoring factor in the Strategic Transportation Investments Prioritization Law. Now, I know that's different in different parts of the state, but one size does not fit all in North Carolina. We're a big state, and I think we've seen right here in our area recently why that needs to be something that's at least considered. The second one is to seek increased funding for maintaining drainage ditches for which NCDOT is responsible in counties that are subject to the North Carolina Coastal Area Management Act. So those are counties that already are regulated differently by the state because of being in low-lying flood-prone areas and areas that have coastal impacts. So that's why we picked that specific geographic footprint to put this on. You know, usually now, if you call DOT and say there's a ditch that's clogged, they'll get somebody out there to do it, but they've got limited resources. They can't do but so much. And that's something that, you know, it's a lot cheaper to clean the ditch than to replace the road. I mean, if you think about it. The third one, and this one, language is worded a little differently because they've already made some progress on this, but it's just to reemphasize the importance of it. And I'll give Sam some good credit for adding some specifics in here. To ensure that NCDOT has a strong emergency reserve fund to complete repairs following natural or other disasters, especially those without a federal disaster declaration like potential tropical cyclone 8, because then you're probably not getting FEMA money. So that's why we put that reference in there. Without depleting funds for projects in development or under construction. That's something that you have an emergency fund so that it doesn't mess up the STIP if you have an emergency. And the fourth and fifth, fourth one is something the County Commissioner Association has taken strong stands on, and I think the other RPO had a version of it, to request that the North Carolina General Assembly reject proposals which would transfer responsibility for the state's road system to local governments. And then the fifth one is something I believe Mayor Alt suggested this, to request that the North Carolina General Assembly reject proposals which would weaken or dismantle Powell-Bill street maintenance funding. So those are the priorities we came up with. If this is approved, we'll certainly send this to our legislators and to the key committee chairs. And I think also to the other RPOs, maybe encourage them to do something similar. And to some of the MPOs as well, and especially those in coastal areas. I know Wilmington has theirs, but and then we'll also get this out to the media as well. So with that, is any discussion or anyone want to make a motion? Any questions or comments?
We've put quite a bit into whittling this down to just these
Yeah.
handful.
think a lot of thought went into this by a lot of people. So I'll make that motion.
Motion's made to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mayor Mann. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do our roll call.
Frank Williams,
Aye.
Mike Forte,
Aye.
David DeLong,
Aye.
Jeff Weinkoff, Terry Mann,
All right.
Gary Keaton,
Aye. I apologize.
it's all right. William Ravenbart.
Thank you. That motion carries. And I think this is something that we probably should have done it years ago, but we've been busy doing prioritization and figuring out what prioritization is. It's confusing enough, but hopefully these will get some attention and we'll get these sent up, and we need to draft a letter of some sort to accompany it. I'm gonna sign this one and then we'll move on to the next agenda item. Next agenda item is our 2020 amending this year's meeting calendar due to multiple conflicts. And also, I don't think we have a whole lot to discuss then, canceling the November meeting and beginning in 2025. Sam, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, basically there were several conflicts. We're trying to move around that November TAC date. And the main item that we would have needed to address before the year ended was our division needs local input points, which we have taken care of today. And so, don't need to hold a meeting just for the sake of.
We have a motion to cancel that meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mayor Weinkoff. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do our roll call.
Frank Williams,
Aye.
Mike Forte,
Aye.
Dave DeLong,
Aye.
Jeff Weinkoff, Terry Mann,
All right.
Gary Keaton,
Aye.
William Ravenbart. Okay. I will not notice of this
Okay.
and cancel the calendar.
Thank you. The next one is the 2025 meeting calendar, and I've gone through it. The one I would recommend changing is June 13th is overlaps with the National Association of Counties Annual Conference. And I know I'll be, assuming I get reelected in a few weeks, I'll be attending that. And there may be others who are attending that. So I would recommend either going week before or week after or something like that, depending on what works. I don't know when the TCC would meet.
They usually meet 2 Wednesdays before this meeting.
So they would meet, it looks like in late May then.
Right, yeah, if we were to push this back, we definitely need to push theirs back a week.
Would the 20th be too late for us to get what we need to have done by that deadline on the 30th?
Not at all.
So maybe do the 20th then. I don't see any, unless somebody else knows of a conflict, I don't see anything then.
What month are we talking about?
June.
June.
Would that work for everybody? So, I mean, assuming we're all on the committee next year. Do we have a motion to amend this to adopt this with the June 13th being June 20th?
Make motion.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do our roll calls.
Frank Williams,
Aye.
Mike Forte,
Aye.
Dave DeLong,
Aye.
Jeff Weinkoff,
Aye.
Terry Mann,
All right.
Gary Keaton,
Aye.
William Ravenbart.
Thank you, everybody. And now we will move on. That concludes our business. We'll move on to reports and updates. And first is Cape Fear RPO.
As a note, this isn't the first time that Commissioner Williams has dodged having an RPO meeting on Friday the 13th.
That's what you call strategy and awareness.
So as far as the staff report, in your packet, you'll find revisions to the current STIP, that's 2024 to 2033. The ones that made that list, they're pretty much just project delays due to either needing additional planning time or needing time for materials to arrive. And then the second thing I wanted to mention is just a reminder of different things that the RPO is capable of. Generally speaking, we'll try to send an application for an SPR, State Planning and Research Planning Grants. That's the funding that we've used in the past for things like the East Coast Greenway feasibility studies, both in Brunswick County and Pender County. So other types of feasibility studies, if there are ideas, and I'll spend the next couple months looking into what might be a good application for us to consider at our next meeting. But just wanted you to know that that's another source of planning dollars that if there's something that specifically comes to your attention that we should pursue, feel free to reach out and let me know. The same goes with doing traffic count studies. DOT has a very robust statewide traffic count program. But at times, and just to have greater flexibility, I'm available to go out and do traffic counts, which I just did a couple weeks worth of counts in Topsail Beach back in July to get some summertime counts. And I've also recently acquired additional traffic count materials from one of our RPO, fellow RPOs across the state who was getting new stuff and clearing out some old ones that match exactly what we already have. So supply wise, we have increased capacity to do traffic counts. Just a reminder that I'm available for that as well. And then we mentioned it earlier as far as getting updates on 211 and storm impacts. But at anything else that would ever come up that you'd want a presentation either from myself or from anyone else, again, that's another thing that we can integrate into our meeting schedule and get updates from other agencies across the state.
And you've made a couple of presentations to governing boards recently.
Yes, so, yeah, so that could be presentations here. That can also be if your local boards or councils want presentations. So in Southport a few weeks ago and Oak Island a few days before that. So obviously, you can attend these meetings and then take information back to your councils. But also if you'd rather just have me show up to your council and do that presentation for you, I can definitely do that. The last thing I wanted to mention, we were able to, through various string pullings, get the turning lanes at 50 Lakes Drive and NC 87 in BSL. That's been a high priority project. Able to get that added to a maintenance contract. So just a simple addition of a few turn lanes, something on that scale is something that we can keep our eyes open for other maintenance projects and try to add that in. Appreciate Mayor Weinkauf's assistance in helping make that happen.
Sorry, can I interrupt? Have either of you seen the letter from Representative Miller that's sponsoring the bill?
I hadn't seen the letter. Only thing I know is there was a phone call that was made.
I had a similar phone call with Charlie.
I haven't seen the letter yet, so I can't send the fund request until I receive the letter.
Yeah, I think he's been tied up with all this.
Yeah.
And they were in session yesterday.
Yeah. Might be worth reminding him though, if
Yeah,
somebody could
yeah.
reach out to
I'll
him.
reach out.
Or his staff. He's not
Yeah.
probably gonna write the
Yeah,
letter.
copy his LA.
We're ready to do it. I just need
Yeah.
that letter.
Okay.
So I can.
Okay.
Know that money's coming?
Sam, could you reach out to Representative Miller and copy myself and Commissioner Forte, but also make sure you copy Representative Miller's LA?
And I think our maintenance schedule might be pushed back a little bit because of all the other issues that we've been addressing in Brunswick County, but I don't have a date on what they're doing, but we're coordinating to add that into the contract.
I get it.
Is there a way to add that because of the traffic impact currently with 133 out, that might need to be prioritized to get it done, because until 133 is back, the amount of additional traffic traveling 87 is sort of crazy.
It is.
You'd actually want to delay it. You wouldn't want to do construction on 87 when it's the primary route.
Road, do it overnight.
I do think that also
Sorry,
That was-
that's my private sector going, this stupid, why haven't we done it yet?
some of the kind of push that could happen to get that added was some of the 133.
Yeah.
While we're on this, I have a question or two.
We're gonna get to DOT's report in a minute, maybe hold the questions for them if they're from DOT. Sam, anything else on yours?
No, the last thing, I showed you this last time. This is a resource online. If you're interested in digging into the weeds of rethinking how we fund transportation.
Send that out to us as well, because I will never remember to look this up if you don't.
No lie.
Absolutely. I will send that out either later today or tomorrow with kind of a meeting wrap up
Thank you.
notes. But just wanted you to be aware of this resource, kind of as a conversation starter or a way to kind of dip in further if you're looking for.
from the feedback we've been hearing at other meetings when we bring this up, like it says the trial calculator, and it'll calculate what you do pay currently in gas tax. You kind of put in what your vehicle miles per gallon and different things to see what you might be paying annually. And then it's looking at other alternative funding options for the state and comparing it to maybe like a mileage user based fee. And I think a lot of confusion that we hear is that it would be in addition to the gas tax. And I just want to clarify that we're looking at alternative options. So it would be replacing or, you know, looking at how we can combine things, but not double taxing.
Correct.
So I just want to clarify that. So if you look at it, you're not thinking that on top of the gas tax, we're looking at doing all these other revenue.
Yes, that was great clarification. Thank you. But other than that, that's all I have for a report today.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions for Sam? Seeing none, do we have anything from NC Ports?
No, we do not.
And the only thing I'll mention about the ports is I know on the MPO side, they're working on some Front Street wide projects, and I don't even know the nuts and bolts of that. And also the Cape Fear Bridge, both would have impacts on the port. So down the road, even though those are MPO projects, it might be worth having them come in and give us an update at a meeting on those.
And those projects also connect with their relocation of their North Gate.
Yeah.
Which is a grant funded project that the RPO helped provide a resolution of support for. So definitely as things progress, we'll have Stephanie back to give us some.
Thank you. Anything from Ferry Division?
We do not have anything from the ferry.
Now we move to Division 3.
Hi, everyone, Division 3 here. We have two projects on your projects in development that were let recently. Those are the bridge preservation in Surf City. It's actually just adding lighting to that bridge. And then the other was the culverts on 133, and that project has actually been delayed due to all the storm issues. Complement making sure we have access to the road. Your point earlier with 8715, which I've written a note and I will ask about that. The projects on the next sheet. So the other projects in development are just in 2025. So I'll skip to the projects under construction. You have Driving Creek Bridge, Bridge 57 over Driving Creek on 211. That's about 94% complete. We also have Bridge 15 over Crooked Run on NC 11, should be about complete. 211 project had damage during the storm. We received an update that should be opening, it should be available to move through traffic again today. Over the canal, excuse me, yeah, over the canal. And then on
Dutchman's Creek.
Dutchman's Creek, we're thinking that'll take another week or two. Well, a week. We'll see how, see how that goes.
But don't say a week publicly, say 2 weeks publicly, and then a week gets it done already.
It's gonna be 3 weeks.
Aiming for Christmas, aiming for Christmas.
All right. Okay, great. So then the two last projects are NC 133 at Longwood and the Waccamaw School Road. And that's about 75% complete. And lastly, Bridge 28 over Long Creek on 210. Still at the early stages, about 16%.
Remind me what you're doing at 130 in Waccamaw School. I haven't been down that way in a while.
I believe it was to make improvements, safety improvements right there.
I think it was an intersection.
It took that angle with the church.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's been a very challenging intersection.
Straight out,
Yeah.
straight out with a stop sign.
I mean,
It's the church that is a school also, right?
Okay,
Yeah, Soldier
that's
Bay,
part of the
right
issue.
at Soldier Bay
Yeah.
Church, because that street comes
it's
out.
hard to see at that angle,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's what I was hoping you were gonna say, yeah, is it's.
I think it straightens it out into like a T intersection.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, great. And then lastly, on your last sheet are your maintenance projects, resurfacing. So we've completed I-40 that was delayed after the bridge maintenance project. So that's been completed. NC section of NC 87 and sections of secondary roads. We have, that's just, that contract has been open, but they have not started work on that yet.
Which part of 87 is that? Is it between Mako and Elm Creek or between 17 and Southport?
I don't know for certain, but I can look at maps and get them for
Okay.
you.
If it's between Town Creek and Southport, it might be wise to not start that till the other things are fixed in Southport.
Yeah, that could be why it's at zero. I just haven't been told. Yeah.
That might be the one that is what the BSL turn lanes are being added to.
Yeah, I think.
So I think it might be
Okay.
that whole project.
And then the next resurfacing is NC 1553 and secondary routes. That's about 80% complete. The next project is broadband fiber that's been added across the state, and that's about 72% complete. The next project is NC 130 and various secondary routes, about halfway complete. The section of NC 53 with 10 sections of secondary roads and then 11 sections of non-system roads. That has not, that contract has been opened, but it hasn't started. And then you have NC 50 and various secondary routes, which is the last one, and that's about almost complete. That's 90% complete.
Talk about the non-system roads part. What does that exactly entail?
Have to look at that.
Yeah, we'd have to look at that. I don't know exactly. That's funny. I just, when I read it, I was thinking, I don't know why we would be doing that for non-system roads.
That's what I was wondering, if that's just,
But we do, our district engineers will sometimes move private roads into our system. And so that could have been a plan.
Okay.
And that's accepted through the Board of Transportation. So we'd have to just double check against that.
I'm assuming those would be hopefully already at state standards before they're moved in.
Well, that's funny. We were having that conversation with them, but that's what we would have hoped to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know some really bad dirt roads y'all can take over. It's not a requirement.
Orphan roads, Southport.
Exactly. Quite a few in Brunswick County.
And that's all I have to report for you.
And I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You answered one of them, at Dutchman's Creek. And that'll be ready in, would you say 6 months?
Yeah.
Christmas.
Christmas 2027.
That was one. The giant hole on 133, just southeast of 50 Lakes Drive. Do we have a start date on that?
I don't. I will get one though for you.
That's a deep hole.
Yeah, I saw pictures of it. I haven't been there.
Will they consider a bridge?
Yeah, we did send
You double check.
it's a great point. I can't pull up my
Our
system.
system's down.
Yeah, our system
Statewide.
statewide is down, so I can't pull up our list, but we have a full list of 44 washouts and plus.
Mhm.
And everything that we've repaired and what's what's lastly on there. And we shared that with
I think
Sam.
Jesse emailed it to you.
So yeah, NC 133 River Road, south of 50 Lakes Drive, October 31st.
Will be,
And
start date?
anticipated completion.
So they're on it right now.
they're already doing it? Because you
According-
can't get anywhere near it to even see if they're working.
I think they are.
According to
All
that.
the
Park and
completion
walk
dates were just updated last week,
And I'm
so
not
That's
parking
Friday.
my car at the gas station, I'm walking
Well, that's what I was
half
just
a
thinking. I
mile
didn't
to
think
get
they-
to it.
we're getting pipes and stuff from all over the state to help get these.
So I know on Moore Street, they're looking at doing a bridge rather than putting the culverts back in. Is that something that they would have considered for
So have they
133
made a
also?
decision? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, I would love to know if that decision has been made, because I think that will relieve some of the issues that we've had in that spot recurring, but I also think the same thing for 133.
It's October 31st, they're not building the bridge.
That's not, they're not building a bridge on 133 for October 31st.
That one doesn't have a date on it yet. On Moore Street.
Yeah, I think that one is.
The only note on there is that design's expected early October. So maybe,
We're thrilled to have 211, believe me, that's like
Yeah, it's huge.
over and above Moore Street, although we would love
Yeah,
more,
that
we
would
would
be-
love to have Moore Street back at some point.
Yeah,
But getting people back in and out is so huge.
those businesses on House Street had taken a beating.
It's sad right now.
I heard that we had a public meeting last evening and people were talking about how everyone's banding together to make sure that they get back to those businesses, and they had a really successful weekend. That's what I was told.
Good.
Well, there was a
Good to hear
fishing
that.
tournament in town, so it has nothing to do with the people that are here.
Oh, no, these were locals at the public meeting last night saying that they were making an effort, everyone to go there. Like they were sharing on social media to make sure that they give.
I've seen some of those posts, but
I've seen the post, but I've also seen the number of people that are actually going, so one does not mean the other.
any other questions for Adrian and Michelle?
Just thank you for everything you're doing.
And I just wanted to reiterate, I think that list was sent directly to the county commissioners, and if anyone else needs that, we'll make sure. Well, Sam has it if he wants to.
I don't know if I guess,
I'll add it to
if I
my.
did, I didn't realize what it was.
Yeah, it's the list of all of the 40 washouts, and then it also has a map identifying the location.
Okay, I don't remember seeing that, but that doesn't mean that it was buried in an email with other stuff. I could have missed it. Huh?
I'll reshare it.
Well, thank you. Moving on to Division 6, anybody online?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. This is Bill Hammond. I'm the Division Corridor Development Engineer. Philip Hart, our Division Planning Engineer, had a schedule conflict this morning, so he asked me to step in and provide the Division 6 report. That was included in your packet. It's pages 29 through 42. So I'm just going to highlight a few of the projects in his report. R2561CA, NC87 Old Stage Road at NC11 General Howe Interchange. The completion date of that project is November of 2026. Utility relocation is in progress. NC11 bridge construction over Wyman's Creek has detoured traffic through Sandyfield. Bridge expected to be closed until about mid-October. That project is 26% complete. US R5020B, US 7701 bypass Madison Street, JK Powell Boulevard from SR 1437 Virgil Avenue to US 7476. The estimated completion date of that project is December of 2025, and that project's currently 79% complete. The next 4 projects are all in one contract. They're a series of bridge replacements. The first one in that contract is bridge number 26 over Gum Swamp on SR 1928 Dock Road. The completion date for these, all 4 of these are December of 2024. This bridge is completed except for the final layer of asphalt. The next number 2 bridge in that contract is bridge number 32 over Waccamaw River on SR 1928 Dock Road. That bridge is completed except for the final layer of asphalt. The third bridge in that contract is bridge 421 on Waccamaw River floodplain on Dock Road. That bridge is currently under construction. And the 4th structure around that contract is bridge 33 over Jennifer Creek on SR 1928 Dock Road. That bridge is under construction with a detour route through part of Brunswick County. The next project is R5819, R5820, US 7476 at Chaunceytown Road, convert at-grade intersection to an interchange, and US 7476 at 1740 Old Lake Road, convert at-grade intersection to an overpass. The completion date of that project is January of 2026. Bridge girders are set on Chaunceytown Road and Old Lake Road. Ramp earthwork is complete. Ramp pavement is at 25 or 75%. Chaunceytown Road widening and roundabout construction's underway. This project is a little bit ahead of schedule. Project construction is 71%. The remaining projects in our list our report or have just started, and he's also got our future projects listed for HMIP and future LAP projects. I'll be glad to that concludes our report. I'll be glad to take any questions. And if you don't have any and you think of later, his contact information is on the bottom of our report. Feel free to reach out to him and with any questions you may have if you don't have any now.
Thank you. I have
Good morning.
project BP 6R008, the Niels Eddy Road, replace that bridge. How long will that road be closed? Do you know? That's in Columbus, but it's very close to Brunswick.
Okay, give me that project number again.
BP 6-R008. It's Niels Eddy Road, replace bridge number 271 over Mill Creek.
Okay. I don't have that information, but I'll get it and I'll give it to Sam to give to the board.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
I think I heard Mayor Keaton. Mayor Keaton, did you have?
Yes, sir. Mayor Keaton I don't know the project number. It was the very first project you mentioned about the bridge on Wayman Creek, where Highway 11 is being, the bridge on Highway 11 is being done and the traffic is being diverted through the town of Sandyfield. Did you say that the estimated completion date on that was mid-October?
Yes, sir. Mid-October.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
I would just like to tell Division 6 that these new project detail sheets are fantastic.
Yeah. Philip's done an excellent job with our report since he's come on board with us.
Make sure the boss knows. These are great.
Will do.
No other questions. Thank you, Bill. And we'll move on to Integrated Mobility Division. Actually, no, the Transportation Planning Division.
Good morning, everyone. I have a few CTP updates. So for Brunswick County CTP, as many of you may know, that CTP is now complete. It was adopted and endorsed back in spring of this year. And for Columbus County CTP, the draft CTP recommendation maps and draft report are under management review. After the internal review is complete, it will be sent to the locals for their review. And soon after that, we hope to go for local and NCDOT adoption. So we're getting closer to that CTP being adopted as well. For Pender County CTP, the survey closed on September 1st, and this committee hasn't met for several months because I've been on leave. But now that I'm back, we will resume that CTP in the coming weeks. And the final update that I have is for the Wilmington Travel Demand Model. For their next MTP, we're starting to test projects for them for the area. And so those requests are coming in, and that MTP is supposed to be adopted by end of 2025. Everything else is in your packet. If anyone has any questions about the CTPs, please let me know. Thank you.
Hey, Nazia, how was the results not the results, but the responses on the survey for Pender County CTP?
I haven't gotten a chance to really dive into it, but we had about 500 people take the survey.
Excellent. That's the number I was asking about. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions for Nazia? If not, we'll move on to Integrated Mobility Division. Do we have anybody?
I don't see him online. Our report to the TCC last week is that IMD is working with both Southport and Oak Island to finalize details for their multimodal planning grant. So hopefully that will kick off here in the next few months, and we'll have updates at future meetings.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on. Anybody from Board of Transportation jump on?
Do not see them.
Yeah, no, but the only thing I'm going to throw in is I went to the NCDOT open house on the Cape Fear Memorial Bridge replacement routes yesterday, and I think there are three very viable options that they've put up there. I would encourage you, if you have questions about that, even though that's not in the RPO area, to reach out to DOT. Certainly there's a whole complicated merger process they have to go through to get to the least environmentally damaging practical alternative. I love that acronym, LEPTA. And there are a lot of factors in that, but everybody has their own individual thoughts on what's gonna work and what's not gonna work, but I would just say that if that current bridge was installed 6 months before I was born. It's older than me and I am not a spring chicken anymore. I'm getting AARP mail. My main preference is that I would personally prefer something that does not have moving parts that have to be maintained, which would mean no lift bridge, no drawbridge, something that's a fixed span. As far as what the height is, that's something that certainly none of this is within my decision-making scope, but those are things that to me, we don't need to be in 50 years having to think about trying to replace all the parts on a moving span bridge. I told a 20-year-old intern reporter that I hope the bridge outlived her last night. It needs to outlive everybody who was at that event and not be something we're going to have to think about this again in 50 years because we made the quick decision rather than the right decision. So those were my thoughts. I would say talk to DOT if you have more technical questions because I can't tell you anything other than what I just did. But with that, any other open discussion or comments or announcements?
I sit here to how to bring what's called, Tuesday night at our town board commission meeting, we are getting ready to start the LEC. Off of new LEC off of North Wright Street coming out of Burgall to Old Savannah Road south. We got two major 90-degree turns in there. That's going to be the main entrance going into that new LEC. And there was some preliminary plans submitted for a new courthouse on that same property of 100 and some acres the state owns. That road needs to be looked at. And I don't know what the process or to get somebody from DOT to come out and start doing some looking into it, but their only access is to come through Burgall on North Wright Street, go down past the schools and make a hard left on where we call Lewis Sausage Plant, and then you make another hard right. And they are 400, 500 yards apart. And that's going to be a major entrance if the new courthouse goes in there as well. LEC is moving ground now. So they're getting ready to start. So I came through there the other day just looking and almost got hit head on because people just don't know how to drive with two 90-degree turns right there in that intersection. I mean, in that bend. So anyway, what's the process I need to do to get that? That really is going to be a huge concern for the town of Burgall and any of the residents of there as well. But the traffic is getting ready to start in there.
And I had a discussion with Sam about Highway 87, but we've seen what happens with 211 shut down and all the traffic now on 87. There at some point needs to be a cost analysis to see what it's going to cost to widen 87 because as mayors in the local mayors, part of our evacuation routes is 211 and 87. So with everything that's happened now, that's got to be a serious discussion in the future of how are we going to widen that to be able to handle escapes and evacuations and all that.
And by widen, do you mean 4 lane?
No, we don't want a 4 lane.
So, yeah, that's what I thought.
We've already talked about just a 3 lane road.
Okay.
Yeah, but at some point.
2 heading out, 1 going in.
Yeah, but we've got to have something to be looked at. A little bit better.
Honey Point would have to be in that discussion.
They've already been in that discussion.
They probably would want it too, yeah.
They already approved it. So they're on board with us.
Looking at that corner of the county, you've got 133, 87, and 211. Is there any option to build another major route from Southport that connects to 17 somewhere else? I don't know. I'm asking, I don't know I haven't looked at the map, but I'm just wondering if there's any, you've got 133, 87, 211. Is there something that could go here? Put that on your radar to look at. We can't answer that in this meeting, but that could be for the next round of prioritization, a project to submit and at least see what it comes up with.
I have a question for DOT.
Sure.
I've had many people call and ask if we are losing our funding for 211 and our scope of work and possibly the contractors that have been working on 211 to head to the western part of the state. It is my understanding that we already have contractors in place, funding in place, so it's not affecting that. Is that the case? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the general contractors are saying our maintenance staff, we are sending some of our DOT staff out west in rotating crews, so we don't affect what we are doing in Brunswick County. and across our division. We're just running on thinner crews, but that's not impacting what's under construction.
Just to revisit, Mr.
Yeah.
Barks, I will have to go back and check. I think we may have had a project submittal in that area previously. It may need to be tweaked and updated and improved.
Yeah.
Um,
If the county, they're not gonna tear our courthouse down, but there are plans to build a huge 3-story, 2-story complex on that same property.
mhm.
If it's approved, we're gonna have some issues.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that and we'll get back with you.
All right, thank you.
Good discussion for the Pender County CTP.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I think, didn't I just hear she's getting ready to start having meetings again?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep. So perfect timing to
yeah.
dig into that.
Anything else we need to discuss? Seeing none, we will adjourn at 10:06. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. What's her name?
Nausea.
Yep, I'm here.
Now just go on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, okay, great.
Yes, Nausea, we'll make sure that
Yeah, perfect.
that we'll follow up and get that addressed in our Pender County CTP stuff.
Perfect. Sounds great.
Man, I'm out of here.
We go drive across the beach.